Caffeine is the world's most popular drug, and the average person consumes over 300 milligrams of caffeine every day. But do you know what it's doing to your body? And how does caffeine work? In this video, I'm going to talk about the shocking effects of caffeine on your brain and body. See, when you're awake, your body's like, hey, let's get some rest soon, and it releases this thing called adenosine. This adenosine is like a message to your brain saying, time for some shut-eye. Now here's where caffeine comes into play. Caffeine is like a superhero that loves to mess with adenosine. It blocks adenosine from doing its job. So when you have caffeine, adenosine can't tell your brain to get sleepy. That's why when you sip that coffee or have an energy drink, you suddenly feel more awake. Caffeine's got your back, at least for a little while. But here's the catch. Adenosine doesn't give up. Nope, it keeps building up, and caffeine can only do so much. So after some time, your body's like, all right, caffeine, you've had your fun, but now it's nap time. And that's when the caffeine wears off and adenosine hits your brain like a ton of bricks. You go from wide awake to feeling super tired in no time. It's like a roller coaster ride from alertness to sleepiness. So, in the end, while caffeine can give you a temporary energy boost, it's not a forever solution. Your body's natural sleepiness mechanism, adenosine, is always lurking, waiting for its chance to make you crash. And that's why, even though caffeine can help you stay awake for a good bit, a good night's sleep is still the best way to beat sleepiness in the long run. So, you've had your cup of coffee or energy drink, and you're feeling all peppy and awake. But here's the deal. Caffeine doesn't last forever. After a few hours, it starts to wear off. Now, you remember that chemical we just talked about called adenosine? Well, it's been patiently waiting in the background while caffeine was doing its thing. And as soon as that caffeine starts to fade away, adenosine sees its chances and floods your brain. And when it comes rushing in, it's like a wave of sleepiness. Suddenly, all that energy and alertness just vanishes. It's like going from superhero mode to feeling like a couch potato in an instant. And when you add more caffeine on top of the caffeine you've already had, sure, it can block adenosine again for a bit, giving you another boost. But guess what? That adenosine is not going away. It keeps building up, even if caffeine is trying its best to stand in its way. So when that caffeine wears off again, you're in for an even bigger crash. It's like trying to stop a dam from bursting by putting your finger in one leak, only to have another one burst open somewhere else. More caffeine can delay the inevitable, but it can't stop it. So, the lesson here is that while caffeine can give you a temporary jolt of energy, it's not a long-term solution. It's like borrowing energy from your future self and paying it back with interest. Eventually, you'll have to face the caffeine crash. The best way to avoid this roller coaster of energy and crashes is to consume caffeine in moderation and get a good night's sleep. Your body will thank you for it, and you'll avoid those wild energy ups and downs. Now, before going any further into this video, please be sure to like it and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Now let's talk about caffeine overdose, which is when you've had way too much caffeine. Here's the deal. It's pretty tough to overdose on caffeine just from drinking coffee. You'd have to gulp down an absolutely crazy amount of coffee, like more cups than you can imagine. But you see, energy drinks and caffeine pills, they're a different story. They're like concentrated caffeine powerhouses, and that's where things can get dangerous. So with those energy drinks, they can pack in a lot of caffeine, way more than your regular cup of joe. So if you chug too many of those in a short time, you're playing with fire. Caffeine pills, well, they're like caffeine on steroids. A single pill can contain a whole bunch of caffeine, like the amount you'd find in many cups of coffee. Swallowing a bunch of those pills can easily push you into caffeine overdose territory. Now you might wonder, can you actually die from a caffeine overdose? Well, it's rare, but it is possible. You'd have to go way overboard, like taking a mind-boggling amount of caffeine. A healthy person would need to down about 10 grams of caffeine to potentially kick the bucket. But here's the thing, everyone's different. Some folks might be more sensitive to caffeine or have underlying health issues that make them more vulnerable. For them, a much smaller dose could be dangerous. So the takeaway here is simple. Enjoy your coffee, but be careful with energy drinks and caffeine pills. They might seem harmless, but when it comes to caffeine overdose, it's better to play it safe. Stick to moderation and you'll steer clear of caffeine's dark side. You see, not everyone reacts the same way to caffeine, and it all comes down to your metabolism. First, let's talk about metabolism. It's like your body's engine, and it determines how quickly it processes things like caffeine. Some people have a fast metabolism, which means they burn through caffeine pretty quickly. Others have a slower metabolism, and caffeine sticks around in their system longer. Now, if you're a fast metabolizer, you're like the caffeine superhero. You can chug down several cups of coffee, and it's like a gentle nudge to keep you alert. Caffeine doesn't hang around long enough to cause much trouble. But if you're a slow metabolizer, things can get tricky. You might be more sensitive to caffeine, and even a modest amount can hit you like a caffeine freight train. It's like your body saying, "Whoa, slow down!" And it's not just about feeling jittery or anxious. Slow metabolizers could be at a higher risk for health issues if they consume too much caffeine. Now, let's talk about those genes of yours. Yes, those genes that make you unique. There's a specific gene called CYP1A2, and it comes in two versions, fast and slow. If you've got the fast version, your body has an enzyme that can break down caffeine in a jiffy. Lucky you. But if you have the slow version, caffeine sticks around longer and you might be more caffeine sensitive. For slow metabolizers, drinking too much coffee can lead to problems like heart palpitations, insomnia, and even headaches. It's like your body's giving you a warning sign to ease up on the caffeine. But here's where it gets interesting. Your genes also influence whether caffeine is good or bad for your health. A study found that if you're a slow metabolizer and you drink 4 or more cups of coffee per day, your risk of a heart attack goes up. It's like your genes and caffeine are having a complicated relationship. On the flip side, if you're a fast metabolizer, you don't seem to have the same risk. It's like your genes and caffeine are getting along just fine. So what's the bottom line here? Your caffeine sensitivity isn't just about how much you can handle, it's also about your genes. If you're a slow metabolizer, it might be a good idea to keep an eye on your caffeine intake to avoid those unwanted health risks. And if you're a fast metabolizer, well, you can enjoy your coffee with a bit more peace of mind. In the end, understanding your caffeine sensitivity and your genes can help you make smarter choices when it comes to that beloved cup of joe. You might be surprised to learn that in moderation, coffee can actually be good for you. First off, coffee has been linked to a lower risk of some diseases. It's like a tiny shield protecting your health. Studies suggest that moderate coffee consumption may reduce the risk of conditions like heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. It's not a guarantee, but it's a little extra insurance for your well-being. Now, there's a common misconception that coffee dehydrates you, but guess what? That's just a myth. In reality, when you drink a cup of coffee, the liquid in it more than makes up for any extra trips to the bathroom. So coffee can actually contribute to your daily hydration. It's like a hydration buddy that keeps you refreshed. But here's the thing, not all coffee is created equal. Life's too short for bad coffee, right? So if you're going to enjoy a cup of joe, why not make it a delicious one? Opt for good quality coffee that you truly savor. It's like treating yourself to a little luxury in your daily routine. So in a nutshell, coffee can be your health ally when consumed in moderation. It's linked to a lower risk of certain diseases, and it won't leave you parched. Plus, why settle for mediocre coffee when you can indulge in the good stuff? Just remember, like with most things in life, balance is key. Enjoy your coffee, but don't overdo it. And when you do sip that steaming cup of goodness, savor it. After all, life's too short for anything less than the best, especially when it comes to your coffee. At last, I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, then please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And meanwhile, thanks for watching.